I am so glad that you decided to come to another session and allow me to talk to you about emotional intelligence and toxic people. Recently, I had an event in my life where I had a interaction with a person that was extremely toxic. And what I mean by toxic is that they didn't have a really nice thing to say. They were pretty much negative. They attacked all the people that were at this particular event. They were ruthless. They were unable to articulate between different things, but articulate on a higher level. They would stab people verbally. They would diminish people verbally, and I personally wasn't happy, and I've reflected on it two or three different times since then. And when I do that, it just shouts that I need to talk about it to be cathartic, and also to be able to allow myself to overcome this adversity and figure out what that lesson is. I wasn't a very happy person at the end of this, and I definitely didn't think about sex. So, the idea of how could this have been prevented? What could have been done differently is kind of the direction that I'm going. And really one of the saddest parts of this is that there were people that were impacted that didn't have the skills to effectively cope with this particular event. They were individuals that were minors, and they were impacted emotionally, and they were traumatized because they cried and definitely became triggered. And the event ended like so many times before. I mean, this was not the first time that this toxic person, had done this, not only to the people that were surrounding them, but also their family members. And some of the emotions that went on were hostility and anger, guilt, remorse, embarrassment, not to mention the hopelessness and helplessness of the minors. As a child, I had a similar experiences. As an adult, I made the decision that I wasn't going to allow these events ever to take over my life, where I became hopeless, helpless, anger, hostility, because it just isn't good for your health. It's not good for your sex life. It's not good for relationships. It doesn't build for humanity. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Emotional intelligence is the ability to know which battles to actually fight. Emotional intelligence gives us the skills in order to be able to walk through that verbal minefield and be able to actually make it positive, or at least the event to be less traumatizing. Emotional intelligence gives you the ability to take the insults, the catcalls, the name calling, the beratements, and the lies, and not get emotionally involved, not to become triggered. It gives a person who uses emotional intelligence that it is the skill and the ability to control the conversation and know when to end it. Emotional intelligence gives knowledge to the user on where the boundaries are. And so they are insulating themselves and know when to end the conversation and walk away before anything really bad happens, like the police come. The people that use emotional intelligence can control their words, they can control their emotions, and then they win the argument. And this toxic person was so skilled at it that they were pretty vicious, and they won. In school, we aren't taught these skills to fight bullies or toxic behaviors. In school, we don't even know or aren't even trained to be able to recognize what a toxic person, a narcissistic person, an individual that is going to diminish our self-esteem. And we aren't taught how to cope with that type of events. Part of the reason is that our leaders now are doing very bad emotional intelligence. Anytime one of our leaders gets in a fist fight over a bill in the Senate or the House, or there's name calling, or there are remarks that are said, or even television shows. There was a show that lasted for 27 years. It was called Jerry Springer, and every one of the guests that Jerry Springer had did not have emotional intelligence, and that's why it was such a big seller. It's great to be, in the audience and see people doing battle verbally and physically, because Jerry Springer did have to have bouncers on the show. But my point is that, in the end, who won? Jerry Springer, the attorneys. It wasn't anybody else. When we don't control or use emotional intelligence, we increase the rate of heart attack, stroke, anxiety, overwhelmment, erectile dysfunction, divorce, being fired from your job, suicide, road rage, crimes of passion. So, if you don't understand what emotional intelligence is, go ahead, Google it, call me, comment down below. I'd love to be able to talk to you about what it means to have this in your life and how effective it is. Reiki healing helps this. Reiki healing will allow you to be able to be a much better individual as far as keeping your emotions under control and getting rid of past traumas. So, what I'd like you to do is just sit down and realize that self-love is one of the most important things that you can ever have in your life, and commenting on this video to allow me to get better at being able to talk about subjects that are near and dear to your heart. Also, comment on whether or not you've had a very highly volatile event in your life that traumatized you. Go ahead and we can talk about that. So what I'd like you to do is stop the video now and write a comment, and I look forward to reading that comment and seeing you in another session. Have a great day.